I mean, Pierre is literally grasping at straws. He's going to bring back plastic straws. Finally, the kind of boldness that this country needs in times of crisis. We're going to have those straws back, thank God.
But before I get into this, there's an emergency. Do we have a firefighter in the house? Do you see, you have a firefighter? Okay. Mark Carney's pants are on fire again today. Can you help? Can you help? Did you hear his latest whopper?
A taste of the tone there in this last week of the election campaign, with frontrunners Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre taking shots at each other to the delight of their supporters. The NDP, meanwhile, despite the two-horse nature of this race, is taking this message to the finish line. Have a listen.
We got 5 days left. I didn't hear any bell. Did you guys hear a bell? This fight's not over. We're here fighting every single day. There's 5 days left in this thing. And people need to know who's going to fight for me.
The latest numbers from Nanos research show the Liberals 4 points ahead of the Conservatives, a much narrower lead than this time last week. On the question of preferred Prime Minister, as you can see, though, the margin continues to grow, with Mark Carney double digits ahead of Pierre Poilievre. So how baked in are these numbers and sentiment on the eve of Election Day? And what are the chances for any surprises? Nik Nanos is the founder and chief data scientist at Nanos Research and CTV's Pollster of Record. Nick, good to see you for the 300th time during this campaign. You've been amazing.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the top line numbers, because your numbers have definitely borne out the feeling even I have talking to people who, for example, are door knocking for one party or another, and that is, as this race or campaign goes on, it continues to tighten.
Absolutely, Vasi. Actually, what we've been seeing over the last while is basically that tightening. The latest numbers have tightened to 4 percentage points. You know, the thing is that the Liberals at one point had a 10, 11 percentage point lead. And, you know, what we're seeing, even more importantly, Vashi, is that the race is narrowing in the two key battlegrounds: Ontario and British Columbia. British Columbia, as of last night in the CTV News Globe Mail tracking, is an absolute coin toss, like a dead heat between the Conservatives and the Liberals. And in Ontario, the advantage that the Carney Liberals have had has been diminishing over time, and now it's only about 5 or 6 percentage points.
What do you think can explain that? Is it that as Trump we became maybe perhaps more used to him and his threats, and they receded in being as direct as they were, save for the past few days? But, you know, there's a period of a few weeks where we were not hearing the 51st state rhetoric ad nauseum, for example. Is it that as that receded, people started thinking about all the things they were worried about and that were largely, you know, to the Liberals' detriment last year?
Yeah, you know, the thing is, we have that, and we also have a focus basically on meat and potatoes issues. The other thing, Vashi, that we have to say is that at the beginning of the campaign, a lot of Canadians didn't know a lot about Mark Carney. You know what? It was the promise of Mark Carney and his resume and his experience and stuff like that. And, you know, he's been under relentless scrutiny over the last while, and relentless attacks from Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. So even though he still leads, you know, when it comes to who Canadians would ask, who Canadians would want as Prime Minister. The thing is that, you know, as the greater focus on the Liberals and their plan and stuff like that has come during the course of the campaign, the gap is narrowing between the Liberals and the Conservatives.
And when you look at that all-important seat efficiency, because it's important to remind Canadians, like, the Conservatives actually won the popular vote in the last two elections, but the Liberals won minority governments in both of them as well, or were able to form minority governments. Like, when you look at efficiency of the vote, and you mentioned BC and Ontario, like, where are your eyes tomorrow focused?
It's going to be on the 905 belt, for sure, in the GTA, and also in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver and Vancouver Island. I think BC is going to be key to watch on that front. And, you know, we're in a world now where probably the Conservatives, if these polling numbers hold up and they're at 39%, the Conservatives will rightly be able to say they've had the best campaign in over a decade. The Conservatives haven't been at that level in more than a decade, and it speaks to kind of why they feel so positive about the campaign. But, you know, the real story is not the Conservative performance. It's actually the New Democrats and the Bloc. The fact that the NDP are down, the fact that the Bloc are down, has basically rechanged and changed all the calculus when it comes to seat distribution and what the race means, because 39% doesn't cut it anymore for winning an election, whether it's a minority or a majority government.
Wasn't it 2011 when they had 39%, the Conservatives formed a majority, but the NDP, you can correct me if I'm wrong, were at 30%?
Yeah, exactly. And, it speaks to the fact that, there's been a lot of criticism of the Conservative campaign. They were at 47, now they're at 39. That's not really a collapse and a bad job. Like, we've got to be fair, right?
Yeah.
Like, if they've gone from 47 to 39, that's still, not a catastrophe. That's a good showing. It's better than anything that we've seen in the last 10 years. It's just that NDP drop, it's the bloc drop that has kind of put the Liberals in the driver's seat right now when it comes to popular support.
I've just got 30 seconds, pardon me, 30 seconds on the NDP. Have you ever seen, for as long as you've been doing this, the degree to which the support has coalesced around two parties who can form government, like the interest in Canadians in who will form government versus just who will represent their views?
Yeah, and the thing is, Vashi, this isn't because the NDP messed up or the Bloc messed up or people don't like their leaders. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that we have an external threat. His name is President Donald Trump, and Canadians are looking at the two frontrunners in order to deal and navigate that threat. Those other parties, other than the Liberals and the Conservatives, are just being crushed right now.
I'll leave it on that. Nik, thanks so much. Really appreciate it as always.